just a thought on you're healthy this year going into the final. I know you really gutted it out last year in the final. We'll start there, I guess.
Yeah, it's nice to be feeling good at this time of the year, and really excited to get going on Wednesday. And I think the focus with our group is in the right place, and the confidence is there, and we're comfortable. So it's fun to be a part of it, not have any question marks.
So how bad was it last year? You got to a point you couldn't even sit down on the bench.
Yeah, I mean it was not fun. You're getting needles on off days just to be able to walk around. It's tough, and just the uncertainty of not necessarily game one. I knew I was going to be playing, but just how I was going to feel out there. So again, that was last year, and I'm really excited that we get another crack at it this year and feeling the way I'm feeling.
Evander, just building off of that and kind of building off of that personal introspection, you're a competitive person. You want to win. You've been in this league for quite some time. Last year, I don't want to say you were robbed of that opportunity, but we know your situation personally.
Yeah.
How much are you looking forward to this opportunity in front of you?
Yeah, it's very fortunate. Obviously, we, the group worked really hard to get back to this point, and I know more than anybody. You never know when you're gonna get another shot to win. I've been in the conference finals a bunch of times. First Stanley Cup final last year, and not being able to contribute in a way to help the team win that I knew I could was very difficult. And this year, lucky enough to put ourselves in a position again to have that opportunity. So, you want to try to take advantage of it.
Evander, you guys have been quite physical in the playoffs. Florida is regarded as a physical team. Can you kind of just talk about your expectations in terms of the physicality in this series?
Yeah, I think, they play a certain brand of hockey. I think the way we've been looked at by a lot of people outside the room is, we're this offensive team, and I think, we've started to maybe change that narrative a little bit. Obviously, we can score goals and are a great offensive team, but we can also lock things down. We can also be hard to play against in the D zone. We can play a physical brand of hockey. We can play an in-your-face brand of hockey. Whatever game you want, we can give you. So we're going to play our game, and we're looking forward to that challenge.
Evander, you had some battles with Tkachuk back in the Calgary days. I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing him again. Because last year you were hurt, really couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, they have a bunch of players on that team that are important to their group, and just like they try to do, they play an in-your-face type of game. We have a team that can play that style as well and garner some attention that way. So, I'm sure there'll be a lot of game within the game type of stuff, but that's what makes the NHL playoffs exciting.
Do you enjoy that when you're in tough shape like you are right now?
Pardon me?
Do you enjoy playing that kind of hockey when you're in good shape when you're right
Oh yeah, I think I've been in the league 16 years. I think I've shown that I enjoy that side of the game. So, it's it's fun. It's part of the competitiveness, part of the spirit of the NHL playoffs, and for me, it's something that I enjoy, and at the same time, you want to be smart with it, and make sure you're playing hockey first.
You stepped right in after missing the entire season. I guess and you didn't look like you missed a beat. Like what do you attribute to be able to kind of just jump in at the toughest part of the season and just be able to make contributions?
I think just obviously getting my body physically ready, was obviously important. And I think just kind of the mindset that I have as a player and as a person, kind of instilled in me from a young age, with my parents. I think that really is probably the biggest attribute I have, and I think that's where I garnered a lot of the confidence in knowing that I would be able to contribute in some fashion to the group, and not necessarily having any expectations, but wanting to make sure that I'm a difference maker in a positive light for the group.
Evander, how much is intimidation still a factor this late in the playoffs?
I think it's always a factor. I think it can be a factor. I think it's important to have that aspect to your group because you never know when it can kind of play in your favor. these are two teams that we know them, they know us. We went down to the bitter end last year against them, and I think both teams understand this is going to be the toughest challenge they've faced all playoffs, and any sort of edge that you can kind of create, could possibly be the difference. So we want to make sure that we can be on the right side of that as more times than not. Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you go in the playoffs, the next game's always the biggest. So, this is the biggest game we're going to play thus far in the playoffs, and obviously we're starting at Edmonton, which is pretty special, and I think a lot of guys are really excited to kick off here and get going, and obviously get off to a better start than we did last year.
Evander, you've been with this team for a while now. I just wonder what you think about this team's ability to withstand a loss like Zach Hyman, maybe compared to in the past.
Yeah, I mean, Zach's a huge part of the group. He's a player that leading the league in hits in the postseason. He's physical, he can score, and not only does he score, he scores big goals. He scores at clutch times, which obviously is a great asset to any team. But we did a great job in Game 5 against Dallas. Guys like Jeff Skinner coming in the lineup. Arvy's been really good, and I think like you mentioned, this time around we have a lot more depth throughout the entirety of our lineup, and if we need scoring, we have scoring. If we need some guys that can be a little bit more physical, we can be more physical. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to use that depth, and we're going to have to get the job done with it.
Evander, you can't get two teams much further apart than Florida and Edmonton. Prepping and for the travel in between the two cities, you ready for that? And how do you pass the time on the flights?
Yeah, it's great. We're not overly concerned about it. I mean, we just went 4 hours to Dallas, so tacking on an extra hour and a half is not too big of a deal. The time change is definitely different. I think, if we get to game 4 and 5 there's only a day in between, so that'll be a little different. But, it's fun. We got a great group. We play cards on the plane. So that's how I pass the time. It's a lot of fun, and if you're ever in our room, you hear guys talking about it and how excited they are to get on the bird. So, it's good camaraderie on there.
Who's got the best poker face and who's got the worst poker face on this team? That's pretty good.
That's a good question. I want to give you a good answer too. Best poker face, maybe Matthias Janmark. Just because he looks the same at all times. Worst poker face. I don't know. Maybe Himes. And he's not going to be happy that I said that, but I got a bit of a read on him sometimes.
Commander, you're pacing with Sam Gandhi in the hallway outside the dressing room in Game 7 difficult. Like you're going to sweat and see you're not playing.
Yeah, Nobody wants to be on the sidelines in a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. So, not just me and him, but everybody who wasn't playing. Obviously, incredibly nerve-wracking. But me and him seemed to have a hard time watching the entirety of the game.
Evander, sorry, one more for me. Do you have a favorite Stanley Cup Finals memory from the time you were a kid? Maybe a memory that kind of inspired you when you were younger?
Yeah, my favorite team growing up was the Colorado Avalanche. So when they won, with Sakic and Forsberg and Hayduk and all those guys, and Ray Bourque, I remember watching that as a kid, and them being my favorite team at the time, it was pretty cool to watch them win. So that would probably be the answer for that.
What are you driving to the game?
You have to tune in to find out.